What's going on, Jeromes? It is Black Monday. The NFL season has ended for a number of teams around the league, and coaches are being fired. Openings are coming open, and I understand you do have to empathize because not only is it the head coaches, it's the assistants, it's a lot of staff, and some front office people are going to be moving on, and families and kids are going to be moving during the middle of the school year, and it sucks. It sucks all the way around. So you do have to empathize with the human side. But I mean, the business is the business, and you're hired to be fired in the National Football League, NFL, not for long. That includes the coaching staff, and there's a reason why a quarter of the league gets turned over every single year. It just is what it is. So there's going to be more than these 5 openings. Like, there's always a couple of shockers that come up, but we're going to cover what's going on right now. It is about 10:04 a.m. Central Time, which is the only time zone that matters. So the Texans have fired Lovie Smith after one season, and so apparently GM Nick Caserio, who's been on the job for 2 years, he gets to pick his 3rd head coach in 3 seasons, which is just ridiculous. It's so stupid. So they fired David Culley after 1 year, fired Lovie Smith after 1 year, even though, Lovie, very respected, and he had that team playing hard all season long. And maybe Lovie coaching to win and play to win the game against the Colts, just to F the Texans out of the number 1 overall pick. That would be great. I respect that level of pettiness. So Lovie forever. Also, like, if you're a head coach with options, do you look at Houston just like, hey, I got to get me some of that, right? So yeah, you're gonna have your choice of quarterback at 2, for the most part. I mean, maybe Young or Stroud or whoever's off the board, but you're gonna be able to get a young quarterback that you can build your franchise around. But the GM is on thin ice. The ownership is always questionable, and I mean that roster, it's not talented. So I mean, I don't know, man. Panthers, so Steve Wilkes is the interim. They're going to interview him. He went 6-6 after Matt Rule got fired. They were in it towards the end. Could have stole the division, but the Bucs eventually prevailed. Now it's reported that they're going to interview Wilkes as well as Jim Caldwell. So who knows what happens in Carolina. I think that owner David Tepper is going to take a big swing. I think they're going to go all in on Harbaugh. Then you have the Colts. Jeff Saturday, Irsay said that Saturday's gonna have a shot at the legit job. I doubt it. I doubt it, man. But hey, you beat the Raiders and then you lost the rest of your games. But I mean, I guess the Colts is an intriguing job. I really like Chris Ballard as a GM. Hopefully he's on stable footing. You are going to have the number 4 overall pick. You do have a chance to move up, or stand pat. Maybe you get a guy like Will Levis. Who knows? Broncos, Jerry Rosberg, who I did not know is from Minnesota. Represent. That's right. Interim head coach, he's not going to be hanging on to the job. They've already made overtures. They already talked to the Saints about talking to Sean Payton. They can't make any commitments or whatever, but they're going to talk about Sean Payton, and they're probably going to have to give up a first-round pick. Now, the Broncos, even though they gave up the first and the seconds and multiple first and seconds and a 5th for Russ, they do have a first-round pick from the Bradley Chubb trade, so they have the Dolphins' first-round pick. So they do have that going on for them, which is nice. Also, they've been tied to Harbaugh, and also they formally requested to chat with Dan Quinn, who is the Cowboys' DC, former Falcons head coach. Yeah, 28-3. Yeah. Cliff Kingsbury, he gonna be gone. All right, so they've already announced that Steve Keim is going to be stepping down as GM. He may take a lesser role within the organization or might just be fired. Who knows? It's been a mess in Arizona. Kingsbury's been a reason for it. They're meeting today. I fully expect him to be fired by this afternoon. So hot seat, Saints and Dennis Allen, that's pretty much in limbo because there's a chance that Sean Payton comes back to the Saints. Maybe they sign Tom Brady as a free agent. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. Or maybe the Saints, they trade Sean Payton to the Broncos or wherever, and then they fire Dennis Allen. And then just go from there. I don't know. Titans and Mike Vrabel. So it seemed like when they fired John Robinson, it was a ending of a power struggle and giving more power to Vrabel. But you had 7 losses in a row. And this team is in disarray. And also you had that embarrassment of Todd Downing getting the DUI after the Packers game, which, by the way, set off that 7-game losing streak. It is rough. So, I mean, does Vrabel eventually pay the price there? I don't know. Commies, Ron Rivera. This is less about Ron because, I mean, Washington was competitive until the final 2 weeks of the season. They put the bank thing on the Cowboys week 18. But And this is more on ownership, just more of the dysfunction of ownership. And again, it has nothing to do with Ron Rivera as a head coach, who I respect a lot as a man as well as a coach. I mean, he's a good ball coach. Buccaneers, Todd Bowles. So, I mean, if the Bucs get trounced in the opening round, even though they're hosting a playoff game, do they make a change there? Because Tom Brady's probably leaving in free agency, so it may be time to just tear this thing down and rebuild it back up and just move forward from there. Rumors. So there's a rumor that the Dolphins could fire Mike McDaniel after one season. Now, that would be embarrassing and be ridiculous. I mean, Mike McDaniel's, he got this team off to an 8-3 start, and then they had a slide, but they backed into the playoffs. It's whatever. I mean, they play the Bills wild card weekend Sunday at noon, but I don't know. I think this, again, this is sort of like the commies thing. It speaks much more to the dysfunction of the Dolphins organization than Mike McDaniel. I think Mike McDaniel, even though he's eccentric, I think he's a damn good football coach. Maybe didn't handle the Tua situation very well at the beginning, but who knows? Or, I mean, of course, since Harbaugh is in play yet again, and Stephen Ross is like Mr. Michigan, like I think that. I think the business school is named after him. I think that he's the largest donor to Michigan, which is saying a lot. So maybe he just goes all in on Harbaugh, and then Mike McDaniel is collateral damage here. The Rams and Sean McVay. So it's reported that he's going to be taking time after the season to assess his options. And I've said, like, if Sean McVay wants out, now is the time to get out, because he's got a Super Bowl ring, doesn't have anything to prove there, and he would be the highest paid person on TV. And I think that Sean McVay has a personality that he could be this generation's John Madden. I mean, John Madden, remember, he won a Super Bowl ring against somebody. We don't know who they play in that Super Bowl. But he stepped away at 42, and he never went back. And he became the voice of a generation. I think Sean McVay could have that role. Or, I mean, he could do TV. He could be the highest paid person on there. He could be better than Romo. He could be better than Troy Aikman. And he could have that very cushy job and pick and choose where he wants to go. Like, he could wait until the perfect opportunity comes open. He's a young dude, right? So maybe he's a little bit burnt out. Maybe he sees the writing on the wall that the Rams are in cap hell, as well as they don't have any draft picks, and Aaron Donald's getting older, and Jalen Ramsey is aging out a little bit too, as well as Matthew Stafford is past his sell-by date and plus has a bad contract, and they may get rid of him this offseason. So, I mean, maybe McVay just bounces. Right, and confirm. So, in everything but words has been confirmed that Stefanski will be back, because they fired DC Joe Woods, and if you're throwing assistants under the bus, it means you're generally going to be safe. So Stefanski looks like he's going to be returning for year 4 in Cleveland. So, I mean, again, sort of like the Dolphins and the commies, speaks more towards the ownership with the Browns. But our guy Stefanski, who I believe is a good football coach, gets year 4 in all likelihood, and a full season to work with Deshaun Watson. And then, Bill Belichick, Patriots. I mean, they had a shot. And they're in a win-and-in situation, which I think the TV telecast said that was the first time that the Patriots have ever been in a win-and-in situation with Belichick, which is crazy, man. It just speaks to how dominant they were for a number of years. But he confirmed that he will be back in 2023 at age 71. So we'll go from there. Now, looking at some of the top head coaching candidates, Sean Payton, whatever. Harbaugh's back in. Hey, remember after the whole Harbaugh Vikings debacle, Jim Harbaugh said, "I'm never leaving Michigan." And then Michigan has sanctions coming. He's like, I don't know, maybe. DeMeco Ryans, I mean, the Niners defense is the best in the NFL. DeMeco Ryans was a great candidate last offseason. The Vikings interviewed him, as well as a number of teams. I think that he should and could get a head coaching job this time around. Jonathan Gannon, Shane Steichen, both the DC and OC respectively, of the Eagles will get some looks. And that's what happens, where you have top teams, their coordinators always get poached. It happens. I think Wes Phillips deserves to be in a couple of interviews. I hope that I don't think that he'll get a job this cycle. I think that he will have a couple of interviews, some interest. Selfishly, I want him to stay with the Vikings. I think him and Kevin O'Connell devised a fantastic offense for the most part this year. But Wes Phillips is going to be a head coach in the NFL very soon. Dan Quinn, DC, is going to be in the mix. Already been requested by the Broncos. Won't be the last. Bieniemy, perpetually in head coaching interview circles. We'll see. Ben Johnson with the Lions. I mean, Ben Johnson was a nobody, and he devised a fantastic offense with the Lions this season, one of the best in the league. Ken Dorsey with the Bills, filled in shoes nicely from Brian Daboll, who left to become the Giants head coach. Alu and Naramo, where I mean, Anorama's sort of like Mike Zimmer, where he's an older guy. I think he's 55, 56. Hasn't really gotten a sniff to be a head coach, but I mean, this is the time to do it. I think the Bengals defense has performed extremely well at points this season. Kellen Moore, of course, he's always popping up. The pride of Boise State, Frank Reich. I think Frank Reich got done dirty by the Colts. Absolutely. I think Frank Reich is a hell of a football coach. I think that he deserves another head coaching job, and I think that he'll get one in short order. Now, like, he maybe take a year off like Doug Peterson and just sort of wait for the right spot. But I mean, Frank Reich needs to be in the National Football League. Of course, our guy Leslie Frazier. I mean, Leslie had a number of things go against him in 3 years that he was the head coach of the Vikings, but he's still one of the best defensive minds in the game. I think that he is a solid leader of men. I think that Leslie deserves another head coaching shot. Somewhere around the league. But that's it. As of right, actually, wait, we should triple check. It doesn't matter. As of right now, 10:14 a.m. Here's where we stand. Black Monday, NFL coaching changes. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol production value.